All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We've got UTSA head coach Jeff Traylor with us this morning. We'll be on for about 30 minutes. If you could just please use the raise hand function or shoot me a message in the chat, and I'll call on you. JJ, you want to start us off this morning?
Jeff, how you doing this morning?
Good morning, JJ. Fantastic.
Thanks for joining us. It's finally game week. What's the just mood in the building today?
Well, all of our kids are in class right now, so it's pretty quiet around here, actually. But, we're game planning and, watching Illinois and preparing for that game Saturday night.
What were some of the takeaways you got from watching Illinois this past week?
Very Coach Bielema looking team. He's won 3 Big Ten championships at Wisconsin, took Arkansas to 3 bowl games in a row. And you can tell his presence has already been felt. Just the way they play, they've got an extremely veteran offensive line. And those guys, it's rare that you have a 5th-year starter at center, a 5th-year starter at right tackle, a 5th-year starter at left tackle. I say rare. It's never been done in probably the history of college football. So you could tell they use those guys up front. But that's the way he's always played football. And those kids have really bought into his culture. And they're a good football team.
They're pretty physical. I noticed you decided to highlight that this week. Is that something you guys are going to be keen in on this week?
Well, again, back to Coach Bielema, it's just kind of who his teams always are. And that's what showed up Saturday. They've got 21 super seniors, 41 seniors on the team. They're extremely bought in right now. That was, you hate to say must win for anybody. It's pretty much a must win for Nebraska to start out. And they had a great crowd, a great atmosphere, and played really good football. So we've got our work cut out for us for sure. But we're excited about the challenge.
All right, we'll go to Greg.
Jeff, when you guys were in a similar situation last year, I think you said the team that played the game would be at an advantage against the team that maybe had an opportunity to scout and see what they're doing. Is that sort of the same situation even when it's like this, where it's a new staff and you kind of weren't sure what they were going to put on the field?
Yeah, there's just no way to duplicate a game other than playing the game. They're just going to be better for it. In the fourth quarter, they'll be more prepared for that than we will be. At Texas State, we barely held on last year to get out of there. In some aspects, we'd say we're very fortunate to get out of there. So there's just no way you can duplicate that. I know I'm duplicating my words right now, but he's getting a tremendous advantage there, in my opinion, because they got to play the game. The negative are injuries, right? Because in practice, you're smarter. You're not going to the ground as much. So they did lose a couple of kids to injury. That's the negative of playing the game, but they'll be more prepared for the game than we will when it comes to that aspect, just from getting to have done it.
I know you guys did a little bit of advanced scouting to try to get a sense of what they were going to bring to the table. Did the X's and O's kind of match what you anticipated, or did they show you a lot of things that you kind of have to adjust for now?
Some were similar and some were different. So that's always the gamesmanship and the fun part of this business is to anticipate and predict and give your kids the best chances possible. You can't chase too many ghosts or you won't work on what they actually do. But at the same time, you got to be smart enough to give him a lot of credit. He's won a lot of games in his career. This isn't his first rodeo. It's his third one, actually, as a head coach.
Okay, we'll go to Sam with The Athletic.
Hey, Jeff, good morning. When you look back at last year and where you were at this point before the opener, now you've got a lot of returnees. You have obviously a much better feel for what you have on a roster. How much better do you feel, more comfortable do you feel about where you guys are as a program and what you feel about just in terms of what you have on your roster going into this season?
Oh, I know I say this a lot, but I journal a lot. So I love to reflect and look back at my exact thoughts this time last year. And a lot of those questions are answered, the things I was concerned about. I know the answers. I might not like all the answers, but I know the answers. Some of the answers I like, some of them I don't like. we're much deeper. We know who we are as an offense, as a defense, as a special teams. Culturally, we know where we are, and we have a deeper roster. Does that mean our roster is perfect? No, but our coach isn't perfect either. We all have that. So that's my job, is to try to, where we're a little weak, hide that, and where we're strong, try to focus on that.
Culturally, how good do you feel? I know you've talked about it a lot this offseason, but as you sit on the eve of the season now, how do you feel about the culture in your building?
Oh, well, what does Mike Tyson say? Everybody's got a plan to get hit right in the mouth, right? So we'll know more Saturday. That's the homework assignment this week is, when the game's over Saturday night and we're coming back on that plane, when we watch that video, what's it going to look like? What's our integrity going to be? What's our passion going to look like? How is our mental and physical toughness going to hold up? How selfless are we going to be? Did we give perfect effort? Did we really trust the process and pound the fist and win the day? That's all. My coaches have the same homework assignment. The scores will take care of itself. There'll be plays in the game. Obviously, as a coaching staff, we have to take care of that. Situational football. But at the end of the day, we have to trust that our brand is going to show up, and that's going to be enough for us.
Okay, we'll go with Scott from the Champaign News to get the Gazette.
Morning, Coach. I guess you mentioned Illinois' offense. Just what were your impressions of maybe their defense with the new coordinator there in Ryan Walters?
Tom Clancy, nice read in the back. I like that. They're a physical Big Ten football team. That's they were a 4-down front. They were very physical. Linebackers are very aggressive. Defensive ends, athletic. And we were impressed with them on defense. So I wasn't surprised at all. I got to coach at Arkansas. I followed Coach Bielema there. We were after him. So we got to watch a lot of his stuff. And Coach Lunny, our offensive coordinator, worked on the staff with Coach Bielema. So we have a lot of respect for him. We know what he's about. So we expected them to be very physical and play Big Ten football, and that's what we saw.
Sincere McCormick, came in as a freshman and was, dynamic and productive. Just what is it about him that has allowed him in 2 years to maybe play the way as well as he has?
He's a good human first. He worked extremely hard. He has a high IQ and character. He's a local kid from Converse Judson, and feels really strongly about the university. And those kids are pretty committed to putting us on the map. And we are the 7th largest city in the country. And we feel like we could have a really special thing here. But it doesn't matter if you don't go out and play good football. And Sincere is very committed to playing good football.
Yes, you mentioned a couple of injuries that Illinois took. One was at quarterback. Does that add a new wrinkle to maybe your prep this week, not knowing, at least right now, maybe which quarterback you'll see?
Well, number 9 came out there and played very well. He's 12 out of 15. He's played a lot of football in his life. So they work that guy too. So they're different, obviously, but they both know how to run the offense. And they did a really good job of using their weapons. I really like the way they used the Williams kid. We expected them to lean on Nebraska up front, but they did some nice things with the kid to get him the ball in different ways. So very veteran coaching staff, and did a really good job of coaching in a situation that's less than desired whenever your quarterback gets hurt. That's always tough to maneuver, but those guys did a fantastic job with that.
Thank you.
KJJ.
Jeff, the overall just expectations headed into this season, how do you manage that with the guys this week and trying to keep them where their feet are?
It's the same people that picked us to go 2-10 last year, picked us last. So, how much credence do you really give to the experts, right? If we all knew that, it wouldn't be any fun. That's why we're all on here. We're all fans of the game. None of us know. We like to act like we know. But none of us really know because the human element's involved. You don't know about injuries. You've got a COVID situation going on. I have 8 players on my team that are from New Orleans. They're worrying about families back home right now. There's just a tremendous human element to football. So none of us know. So we talk about that. Trust is truth over time. I know y'all hear me say it a lot, but I'm very honest with my players. And that's what sells magazines. That's what makes people come to the games and gets tickets. We love you guys for hyping us up and all that stuff. That's what makes it fun. But at the end of the day, none of that stuff matters. We weren't as bad as they said we were last year. We're probably not as great as everybody says we are this year. So the truth is always somewhere in the middle.
The atmosphere in Champaign this past week was pretty, I guess, jumping. How do you prepare for that?
That's awesome. It was really awesome. We could hear the crowd through the TV. You could hear the band through the TV. And I'm happy for those people. That's fun. That's a lot of fun. And we'll have the noise cranked up as loud as we possibly can. We'll try to do everything we can to duplicate that. But that's why you do this. We even practiced running on the field Saturday, and we tried to anticipate what all the fans were going to say to our kids. We made all the Texas jokes we could come up with, talked as much crud to our kids as possible, and that's exciting. We missed that from college football last year, and we're excited to have that back. Even though they won't be cheering for us, it'll still be great just to have them up there getting rowdy.
Greg?
Jeff, what is the value in the general sense of starting the season with the Power 5 opponent versus the philosophy of trying to maybe ease into a year against an FCS school or something like that?
That's a great question. If I had my preference, I would build up. But let's go ahead and take our bath early, right? So we're going to get in. I told our staff and our players this will be a great barometer because they believe in a lot of the same things we believe in. They play with an edge. They play with physicality. They want to run the football and take their shots down the field. And it's similar. It's not exactly the same, but we hope we can bring an edge like Coach Bielema's teams always have.
Do you have to do anything different in the build up to the year then to be ready to sort of jump off against such a tough test?
Well, you just got to know your opponents, right? You have to really study the video and know what they do very well. And they do a lot of things well because they're so old. They're so veteran. Some things that haven't even been discussed yet is how good their punter is. He's a freak show. He's another Aussie. Him and Lucas are buddies, and he can really boom the ball. He pinned up Nebraska. Arguably, that might have been the play of the game. He put him on the 1 yard line. Then he made a kid throw the ball out of the end zone on another one. He's got a huge leg. Their kicker, I don't know if you noticed, they were on the 20 yard line, and he kicked it 5 yards deep in the end zone. Now, I know I'm from East Texas, but to me, that's an 85 yard kick, however you want to cut it. And so they've got big time legs defensively. I was very impressed with how physical they were and how they ran to the football. They're a complete football team that had to win a very important game at home early in the season. And much props to Coach Bielema and his staff for having those kids that prepared. We were very impressed.
Given all that you've outlined about what they do well, what would it mean for your team and for the program to potentially go into an environment like that and open the year with a win?
And we just don't go there in our minds. We just don't. So I know it's a great question. It deserves an answer, but we just don't go there. We're gonna try to be the very best we can be today, and trust our brand and win today. And I hope that's a question you and I could be talking about 10:30, 11 o'clock Saturday night. But until then, we're going to focus on trying to win today.
Okay, Sam, back to you.
Hey, Jeff, I'm sure you touched on it last week after naming, but where is Frank Harris, and just how do you feel about him heading into the season?
Well, obviously, I feel about him like our players do. He was voted back in that 0. They have a lot of confidence in Frank. But in saying that, they also have a lot of confidence in Josh. Josh was voted in the number 8, single digit. Both those kids were chosen to our leadership council. We were very A lot like Illinois, they've already lost one quarterback. We lost 3 last year. We had to play 4 of them. So we had to play a lot of kids, and that develops tremendous camaraderie in a room because they all felt tremendously, bad for each other. The lights just went out in here. Kyle, I don't know what that means. Should I move more or whatever? Maybe we got some budget cuts going on to pay for this building, man. I don't know what's going on here. I apologize. Kyle's coming in to save the day, and we now have lights. And you never know. You got to learn stuff, man. Adapt, improvise, and adjust and overcome, right, Kyle? But yeah, we believe in Frank, but we have confidence in a lot of our kids. So he'll be the starting quarterback, and he'll play well. He's prepared well. He had a great fall camp, had a great spring, and he's played well in the summer too.
JJ?
Jeff, do you know how many quarterbacks you'll travel?
Yeah, we'll travel 4, I believe. I haven't made that final. We'll do that Wednesday, but as of now, it's at 4. It just depends on, special teams and all that kind of stuff, but we'll probably travel 4.
We touched a little bit on it last week, but are you guys still banged up headed into this week?
You're always banged up in football. If you're not practicing the right way. We don't want to be stupid, but at the same time, you're not physical in the game if you're not physical in practice. So you got to bring a little bit of that. Obviously, the closer we get to the game, the more nervous I get as a head coach, but it's just part of the game. You got to go knock each other around a little bit. So yeah, we're banged up, but Illinois is too, and they're probably more banged up because they just went through a physical Big Ten ball game and a home opener.
We saw the roster get 2 more additions at the end of last week. Can you just tell us a little bit about those players and what their roles will be?
Yeah, well, we got them in here very, very late, right? But we're excited about both of them. We got a linebacker out of the Valley. So we just wanted to get back closer to home. Mom wanted him back closer, and he wanted to get back closer too. So we're very excited about him. And the offensive lineman, that was a huge pickup for us. You just can't ever find enough depth at offensive line. So very excited about both those young men. But they're way behind. Those will be guys that you'll see, 6 to 8 weeks down the road maybe. But right now we're just trying to get them in here and get them to learn everybody's names and how the lights work when you're doing a Zoom.
Okay, Scott?
Just had one follow-up for you with Isaiah Williams. Just what kind of challenge is maybe a versatile player like that in an offense, just to try and slow down or contain?
Well, you can tell how athletic he is. I mean, he's extremely shifty, powerful, strong. Looks like he has tremendous football IQ just by the way they use him. And those kind of guys they're tough. It's because it's not so much when he gets the ball, it's when he doesn't get the ball too, because you got to keep an eye on him, and then there's other things coming at you. So really good football player. Again, I know I've already bragged on their staff, but I thought they did a really good job of using him and gave Nebraska fits.
Thanks.
Okay, Greg?
Jeff, I'm starting to think our interviews are cursed this year, whether it's the lights or the garbage truck or the cleaning crew or something else. I don't know what's going on over there.
Well, if you check the news, there's a lot going on in the world right now. It's some crazy times going on right now. So yeah, we went from the night the lights went out in Georgia to the day the lights went out in the race building.
True, we could have it a lot worse. I think that's a good perspective. But I did want to ask, with your team, do you feel like the guys as a whole have like a mentality of something to prove, maybe that last year wasn't just a 1-year thing? Does that ever become kind of one of your talking points or something you chat about with them?
Nah, I mean, we use the analogy that to compare us to last year would be like, it's just not anything that has to do with our culture. I mean, we should be a lot better. I hope I'm a better version of myself than I was a year ago. I give our kid, here's the analogy I give them, Greg, and I used it yesterday. There are a lot of coaches that I interview that supposedly have 35 years of experience, and they have 1 year experience 35 times. They just did the same thing 35 years in a row. That's not 35 years of experience. If all our players are returning and they did not grow, they did not get better, they're not returning starters. They're the exact same player they were last year. So that's the analogy we use. We should be a lot better. I mean, we're all back. I should be a better coach. Ryan Fowler should be a better strength coach. Nick Turner should be a better trainer. We all should be better. If not, we're not living the culture. We're not winning the day. We're not continuing to grow. We're not wanting to get better. We're just living. And that's just no part of what I want our program to be about, our culture. And so we address it in that way, but that's it. We should be better.
So then when you line up this year's group against last year's, the strengths and weaknesses and what they do well, where have you seen those biggest improvements, or what's come along the farthest from one year to the next?
Our depth, we're just deeper. Like Kyle and I were going over our 2 deep a while ago, and we've got 3 deep in some spots that we've never had before. We're not perfect. Sometimes injuries hit you in the same spots, and it's just unfortunate. So no matter how deep you are, if you get hit in the right spot a few times in a row, you're already hurting again. But we at least have names that have played that we feel really good about. So I know we're deeper. Our confidence level's higher because we know who we are. We know what our identity's about, what our brand's about. So I would say, depth and the confidence in who we are.
Anything else for Coach Traylor this morning? All right. Thanks, everyone.
Man, appreciate y'all. God bless. Birds up.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.
And you keep working with McDougall on that boxing thing. We can't have this nonsense going around.
What is that? I mean, bless his heart. I mean, I feel for children that just don't appreciate